So today we're going to be making a one-point perspective cityscape. So you're going to need a ruler, an eraser, and your pencil. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to be making your horizon line. And remember, your horizon line needs to be parallel to the top and bottom of your page, and we want it to be about in the middle of the paper. So take your time making sure that you're parallel. And you're going to draw that line in. Now from here we're going to start to add in, a road first. So we want to find the midpoint, and we're going to put in our 1 point. And everything is going to be radiating off of that 1 point today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a road. We've done this before with the landscapes. So we're going to take and make a triangle shape. And we'd like for it to be an equilateral triangle. So what you do on this side, you want to do on this side. So I take and I put in my triangle. Now from here I want to put in the spots going up the road. So I'm going to go ahead this time though and have a line help me. So I'm going to take and put very, very softly, I'm going to draw a vertical line, and I want it to be parallel with the edge of my paper. So I'm going to take a moment and I put in a very, very soft line. Now on here I can start to draw those rectangle shapes, and I put it on each half of the line. And remember, as we go to add them in, they go higher up and they get a little bit smaller, higher up and a little bit smaller, until they get oh so very tiny. And after I get those last ones in, I can use my big eraser or the eraser on the end of my pencil, and I'm going to erase that line out. And I might have to go in and redraw some of my rectangles. And we have our road going back into space. Now we're going to start to add in some buildings. And I'm going to first just be drawing a line, and I want this line to be about halfway up above my horizon and halfway down below, kind of around in the middle section here. So I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to make sure, and I look at the whole length of my ruler, the whole length of this edge, and I make sure that I am parallel. And I'm going to take and put in my first line. So it's going to look like a big T. And you'll see that this is parallel to that, which means these lines could go on forever and ever and never cross. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in another parallel line. And I want this one to be parallel to that and to be parallel to that. So I take my time. And I basically put in a big H. And I'm going to turn this big H into a rectangle. Now as I put in the horizontal lines though, I want to make sure they are parallel to the top and bottoms of the paper. And instead of just looking right here, I like to look at the whole length and the whole length, and that makes it much easier to get parallel lines. If you need me to demo that one-on-one, let me know. Alright, so I have a rectangle. And I'm going to erase out that horizon line on my rectangle. And I have the beginnings of my building. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line up my 1 point, and I'm going to rotate over till I come to the bottom edge of my rectangle. And see how this is in alignment with that now. And I'm going to draw a soft line. And then I'm going to rotate up to the top. I'm going to do the same thing. Go onto my 1 point, rotate to the top edge of that rectangle, and I'm going to pull a line. Now I have my building going on into infinity, but I want to go ahead and cut it off. So I'm going to come just a little ways over from that first line. I'm going to make sure this is parallel to the whole length of my ruler, and I'm going to cut it off. So now I have a building, but I need to erase out the horizon line in the middle of it. I could redraw it in if I've erased it at all. And I need to erase out this diagonal line and this diagonal line. And I've got my first building. Let's see if we can add a building over onto this side now as well. We're going to do the exact same thing, but over on this side. So the first thing we did is we started with a vertical line. We want half of it to be above and half of it to be below. And we want it to be parallel to the edge of our paper. And it doesn't have to be the exact same size as this building. It could be a little bit bigger. It could be a little bit smaller. I think I made this one a little bit bigger. And I'm going to now build the rectangle. So remember the last time I made an H? So let's do that again. I make sure my ruler is parallel. I take my time. And I've got my H happening. I'm going to put the top and the bottom onto my H. And I want to make sure once again that my ruler is parallel to the bottom of my page now. And I can look at the whole length of my ruler, the whole length. And that will make it a little bit easier than just looking at that little line. I do the same thing up at the top edge. And I have my rectangle again. And just like the last time, I'm going to erase out that center line. Now we're going to put in the rest of the building. So we go to our 1 point, we hold it on there, we line our ruler up, and we rotate up to that corner. We're going to pull a soft line. We go back to our 1 point, we rotate up to our corner. We pull a soft line. We have our building going back into infinity, so we need to now cut it off. I want to make sure that I am parallel to the edge of my paper. And I pull a line. Now I can go ahead and cut off or erase out the horizon line in the building. And I erase out this diagonal and that diagonal. They were just my helpers. And we now have two buildings alongside of a road. So let's see if we can go ahead and add in another building now. Let's come back to this side. And we're going to take our ruler, and once again we want to make it parallel to the edge of our paper. And we're going to pull a line once again up above and in below. And then I'm going to take and connect this to my next, connect it over to this building. I want to make sure that I am parallel. I take my time, making sure I'm parallel to the bottom of my paper, parallel to the top. I do the same thing with the top line. And you'll notice I've started with just a rectangle again. I'm going to erase out that horizon line. So I have a rectangle connected to my first building. And let's finish this building. Let's go ahead. We go to our 1 point. We line up the corner and we connect. We go to our 1 point. We line up the top corner. We connect. We have a building going off into infinity. Let's go ahead and chop it off. And we have another building. We erase out the horizon line. And we erase this diagonal and that diagonal. And we have building number 2. And we have a little space between these buildings. You could gather there. Let's go ahead and add another building over on this side. Okay. And yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and once again, I'm going to bring my ruler over. I'm going to make sure it's parallel to the edge of my paper. I'm going to pull a line. I have that letter H again almost. I'm going to add on a vertical and a horizontal bottom parallel to my other horizontal lines. And you'll notice once again this is connected to the other building. So I have a rectangle connected to my building, and I erase out the horizon line. So you can see we have a rectangle connected to the building. And let's go ahead now and put in the rest of it. So we're going to go to our 1 point, line it up with our top edge, pull a line, go to our 1 point, line it up with our bottom edge, and pull a line. We have our building going back into infinity. So now we are going to chop it off. We put in a vertical parallel line. And we are ready to do some erasing now. So I can erase out that horizon line, and then I erase out the bottom and the top diagonal. We now have 4 buildings alongside of a road. So we have some in our foreground, our midground. Let's see if we can add some buildings now into our background. So we're going to come up and we're going to be making a vertical line. And I'm going to make it smaller than this last building. So I'm going to make a vertical line above and below my horizon line. But you'll know it's a tiny little building now. And I'm going to take and turn this into a rectangle, making sure I keep my lines parallel. So I'm doing the exact same thing again, identical. It's just getting smaller and smaller every time. I erase out the horizon line, and you can see I have a rectangle connected to my previous building, just like I did before. I go to my 1 point, I line it up with the bottom corner, I pull a line. I go to my 1 point, I line up with the top corner, I pull a line. I now have a little building going back into infinity. I can come and pull a vertical parallel line. And there I have a little building. I can erase out that horizon line and erase out the 2 diagonals. And if I lose my horizon line, I can just take and redraw it in again. I'm going to want that there at the very end. There we have 3 buildings going back into infinity, one in the foreground, midground, and background. And let's add one in over here as well. So I can go ahead and take and put in my vertical line. I put on the bottom horizontal line, the top horizontal line, making sure I keep parallel. I erase out the horizon line. I have a rectangle connected to my last building. I go to my 1 point. I go to the bottom corner and pull a line. I rotate up to the top corner and pull a line. I have a building going back into infinity, so I need to chop it off. I pull in a vertical parallel line. And now I'm ready to erase. I can erase out the horizon line that's in there and the top and the bottom diagonal. And I've lost my horizon line, so I'm going to re-put it in. Re-put in my road. So now I have my buildings going down a road. In the next video, I'll show you how to add different kinds of details.